So it's US election day today. Pretty much today and tomorrow is non-stop wall-to-wall US elections. And of course, today of all days, Kemi Badenoch decides she is going to appoint her shadow cabinet. And this is just going to filter away into the ether as people realize, oh, I didn't realize they were on the shadow cabinet. Yeah, because Kemi Badenoch, as we've made out before, has only like 121 MPs to, actually choose from. And the Conservative Party, because of their previous actions, because of people like Boris Johnson, uh, because of losing so many elections, because of scaring away so much potential talent, or even talent refusing to even get involved in cabinet issues, and would rather just remain, quite frankly, on the backbenches out of all the drama. you know they are scraping the barrel, and oh boy, is Kemi Badenoch in this shadow cabinet scraping the barrel. Absolutely. Because as you'll see in a moment, she's appointed two main people. In fact, there's three main people. All three have come from the Conservative leadership contest. But this is not a shadow cabinet that is built to succeed. It is a shadow cabinet, as we'll get into a moment, because we're going to go over the comments, how people have responded to these, of course, from Conservative Home. And of course, none of them are, shall we say, enthusiastic about the fact that she has assembled this cabinet. And this cabinet is once again built on the idea of Boris Johnson. I can get people, or at least, shall we say, more May, shall we say, than Boris Johnson, probably, of the May idea that I can assemble a cabinet of all areas of the party, and we'll all come together and sing Kumbaya, and we'll go into the next election and beat Labour. That's not going to happen. Fundamentally, the second Kemi Badenoch starts having to commit to policy, this is when I keep on saying it, this is when the wheels are going to start coming off. Because just like Theresa May, all these different wings of the party want different things. They are going to argue against each other. They are ideologically split on many different issues. They are going to start arguing. So the second they actually have to start committing to policy, which Kemi Badenoch is going to have to sooner or later start committing to policy, that's when the wheels of this are going to come off and they will start arguing. I wouldn't be surprised if they start arguing within the next 2 or 3 weeks about what policies they should be pursuing, what they should, be wanting to do. But before we get more into this, and of course what the reaction have been, shall we say, from Conservative Party members, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page, the one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee. We can buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there is the Pony Club down below as well. So let's crack on then into this. So, Shadow Cabinet. Badenoch appoints full Shadow Cabinet. And of course, the big ones. Chancellor of the Exchequer, Mel Stride. Out of nowhere, out comes Mel Stride. Well, looks like he achieved his objective of running in this Conservative Party leadership race, which was to essentially get his key leadership or shadow cabinet position he wanted, which was Chancellor of the Exchequer. Congratulations, Rachel Reeves. You've probably just earned a very good, interesting pass, having a very bizarre opponent indeed in Mel Stride. Congratulations on that. And then the other bizarre one, out from nowhere comes Priti Patel. Now, bear in mind, you're having Mel Stride and Priti Patel, both who failed at the first hurdle. Because remember, I thought Mel Stride was going to be the first to be eliminated, but no, turns out that was Priti Patel, then followed by Mel Stride. And she returning from almost political exile. She was banished, if you remember, after it was found out the last time she was in such a position, she had been going to visit other countries and have secret meetings to pursue her own policy. And as a result, she was banished from the main party into the political wilderness. Well, Kemi Badenoch has decided to bring her back into the fold. And bear in mind, this is the dumbest idea I have ever seen, because Priti Patel is very, very set in her ways. She and Badenoch are going to clash. Massively so. massively so when it comes to policy. David Lammy probably also got a fantastic pass as well when it comes to debating Priti Patel. The other one is Robert Jerrick, now Secretary of State for Justice. Well, what does Jerrick get to go on about for the next couple of years? Well, he's going to be talking about leaving the Court of Human Rights. Badenoch has said that will not solve all these problems. There will be, of course, arguments over that. And Jerrick will encourage those arguments. He wants to repeal the Human Rights Act. Again, very popular, but not again popular within the or at least repealing it within the Tory party. Really popular amongst the hard right headbangers, but with the rest of the voting public, not very popular at all. So good luck getting that through. But this cabinet, to me, is built to fail. Built absolutely to fail. Because none of these people are, I would say, heavy hitters. They haven't. Some of these people haven't really even demonstrated, good sort of abilities on this. But this is what we get on a lot of this stuff, and I still can't believe she brought Kemi Badenoch back in. Well, I still can't believe that Badenoch. Sorry, I can't believe that she brought Priti Patel back into the cabinet. Of course, Kemi Badenoch. Sorry, she's the leader. But yeah, I still cannot believe she brought Priti Patel back in. Why on earth would you bring Priti Patel back in? That's a nightmare. But what is the reaction on this? So straight away, someone says, "Remember, she only has 120 MPs. She can't only pick people who match your ideology precisely." And this is the big problem in the Conservative Party, which we've been talking about, which we've been talking and pointing out consistently. The ideology in the party is so wild, so tribalistic that they just can't help but argue with each other. And the second she starts to define policy, what's Priti Patel going to say about foreign policy on this stuff? What's Robert Jerrick going to say about this? What's Mel Stride going to say about this? What are all these other people going to say about this? And once again, division will run rampant within the party. And she has yet to really face a proper leadership challenge. But she's already has failed at the first hurdle, as we said this week. She did a first media interview. She could have had a clean break from the Johnson era, saying yes, what Johnson did was terrible. But no, she turned around and said, "Oh, Partygate was overblown." Talk about misreading the room when it comes to the public's feelings on Partygate, even still to this day. Someone else said here, Chris Phillip as Home Secretary. Really? Laura Trotz, another. Perhaps I'm missing something here, but whenever she gives a TV interview, she seems terribly out of her depth to me. Hardly political heavyweights, are they? It is obvious Badenoch is now trying to keep all sides within the party of this cabinet happy, but it is hardly an inspiring team. She will probably now end up pleasing nobody, as her policies will then be watered down so much as to satisfy no one in an effort now for party unity. And that is true. That is going to upset everyone. It is going to unilaterally destroy the party. And he is right. Once she starts talking about policy, if she has to start compromising, well, then, as we have seen, even under Rishi Sunak, you compromise for the right, out come the more centrists saying, "Why are you compromising on that?" You compromise to them, you've got to compromise with us. And then they get angry, for the right gets angry for compromising with the moderates and so on. It just becomes a huge mess. How's Kemi Badenoch going to navigate that? How's she going to do that? Once again, someone who has shown no leadership qualities whatsoever. So where does she go back to here? Yeah. Chris Phillip appointed now to the incredibly powerful role of Shadow Home Secretary. He's the second most powerful in the government, along with the Pritzker, the leading politicians of the opposition. Badenoch tells us these are her elite. John Creasy amusingly used to call Phillip a nose now in search of a bump. Again, interesting there indeed. Yeah, it's an absolute parade of all the villains from the recent conservative dark ages that people just want to forget. Cleverly is now wise to all avoid this, but is he really any different? Just hearing the names again induces now anxiety in the public. Someone else says, as of now, the public won't recognize even a quarter of these names. Oh, but they will once Labour start to remind these people what they do, who they are, what they've said in the past. Um, I understand, of course, it's a choice, but it's a pity Cleverly hasn't taken a role. Now is really time to actually show unity and support a new leader. Yeah, Cleverly done the exact right thing and really realize I ain't gonna take part in this. I ain't gonna take part in this at all. um, Someone else says here, Kemi Badenoch is elected the Tory leader. Her election now is broadly received positively in the national media. Conservative Home comments, the Tories are finished. It's a gift to reform. She is already finished. Kemi does her first interview. Conservative Home comments, she is terrible. She might as well resign now. Kemi appoints now a new, quote, grown up. Again, grown up should be in huge quotation marks because this is clearly someone a Badenoch supporter. A grown up and balanced shadow cabinet of experience and sense. Yeah, I wouldn't call appointing Priti Patel experience and sense, but there you go. Conservative Home comments, the party is finished. The only way is reform. On top of that, we have all the Farage propaganda machine now going into complete overdrive today, trying to convince us that they have now thousands of new members joining them since the weekend, specifically in protest at Kemi Badenoch, a very trustworthy right winger being elected Tory leader. Now, it may just be me, but I'm starting to think that we've got reform a bit spooked at the moment. They can see their future going down the toilet if the Tories recover. Again, what recovery? What Tory recovery have we seen? There has been no Tory recovery on this. And of course, they are trying to throw the kitchen sink in this propaganda machine to try and make sure that absolutely doesn't happen. So we are going in the right direction. Double down and carry on. What direction? What? No, Kemi Badenoch actually has not said what direction the party is going in. She is policyless. She is driftless. Other than offering, we are going to oppose Labour, but then what policies are you going to say that are different? What are you going to say or how you would do things if you are in power? That is the whole point of being in opposition. And yet, at the moment, she has not defined that. And once she starts to do that, once she starts to say what policy is, Farage will come after her on one side, and her own party will go after her as well. Yeah, we've already said her biggest challenge is to stop her own party from eating her. And ultimately, even though she is, quote, built this balanced shadow cabinet, just as Theresa May did, just as Rishi Sunak did, what happened to them? So, um, someone else says, I think your analysis isn't far off. Our reform actually suggesting that Badenoch, obviously on the right of the party, but quite reasonably striving for unity. So is it that the left wing of the Conservatives will then flock to reform? Question mark. My issue with Badenoch was I thought she might prove at least too right wing to appeal now to the large electorate, but a bit of balance in a cabinet is a welcome start. And yet she is too right wing to appeal to the broader electorate. Because she has to start saying what her policies are going to be. She has to start saying what she's going to do, what direction she's going to take the party in. We haven't seen that yet because she didn't say anything about that in the leadership election. But as soon as she starts to say that direction, once again, all those divisions of the party will be coming up again. They are already just realigning and seeing what new battlegrounds are they going to have to fight on. And trust me, the whole issue with Jerrick and leaving the European Court of Human Rights, that is going to be a defining issue. What does she say about that? What does she say to Jerrick? You know, all these things, all these questions are going to come back to haunt her. Her Brexit comments as well in the past will come back to haunt her. What will she do on these things? So the fact is, at least 65% of our 120 MPs who voted, and at least 60% of our membership did not vote for her. Hardly any signifying a unified party. Again, very true. 65% of the 121 MPs did not vote for her. That is a very worrying position. Her cabinet appointments reflect her very weak position. Very true. If she's had to appoint a wide candidate, a wide party does not recommend a good future ahead for her. The Tory press might appear very happy, but they have nowhere else to go, do they? And of course, Farage is going to exploit division. That's his job. But interestingly, Labour now appear to be just getting on with the job whilst we attack them for trying to sort out the awful mess that we left behind. Someone else said here, very wishful thinking. The Conservative Party brand is still in the toilet. Farage is very clearly doesn't want to work with you. Reform is not spooked by the wider election of Kemi Badenoch as a Tory leader. A positive reception by the national media isn't a good result as you think it is. Hang on. Yeah, Mel Stride was always going to be in the always going to be Shadow Chancellor, just as Kemi Badenoch was always going to be Tory leader. None of this was a secret. Someone quoting, of course, Nadine Dorris, been very active about this. Yeah. Someone said here, I'm starting to think the Conservatives now are deliberately trying to sabotage themselves. These appointments are a present to reform. Pretty back, very courageous decision. Yes, in the yes minister sense. Nothing for Braverman. Let the infighting begin. Again, that's very true. Where was Svella Braverman on that? Continuity Kemi getting back into her stride. The same old Conservatives. It will be no different than under Sunak. That's very true. Yeah, as Matt Goodwin wrote, if you think that a Badenoch Conservative Party who just gave the number 2 job to a Remainer who rules out leaving the European Court of Human Rights and the number 3 job to someone who will preside over the wholesale liberalization of the immigration system is serious about changing Britain, then you're a fool. Good news for reform. Exactly. This is the shadow cabinet of a Grove protege. Yep, very true. That is known for a while. Someone else says here, the Pritzker failing upwards again. That lady, no matter how awful of a failure is, she proves to be a trail of chaos and always lands on her feet. Does she have any dirt on senior figures, I wonder? Probably so. Well, at least she's avoided the trust mistake of including anyone who opposed her. I am not convinced that Patel is a good choice. I'd have thought that Tugendhat would have been a far better one. The news agencies are saying that Jarek is going to be justice. At least Hunt now is on the back benches. Let's see who gets help and defense. Yep, Jarek pointed to justice this time before Conholm says that it's happened, which is now somehow lower than he would have now put himself. Yeah, that is going to cause so many problems in the future for her, being Jarek, because he campaigned so much on leaving the Court of Human Rights, which is a massive part of what he wants. But Badenoch has been opposed to that. And how she deals with that is who knows. Like I say, there are serious leadership questions here that already are popping up with the type of personalities, with the type of this cabinet that she's had to appoint. This is exactly what Sunak did. Oh, this is, a unity candidate with all these different people that, support me because we all have to come together. Yeah. How well has that message constantly worked out when we have seen these appointments from different people? Already, you can see people right here in the Conservative Party, because these are people in the Conservative Party who comment on Conservative Home. No one else. They're all plainly seeing it. Yeah, this is just setting up for future infighting and disaster. Yeah, someone else says, back to where we were. We can expect more of the same old, same old. Farage will be delighted with these appointments. Yeah, very true. Everyone is saying, oh, well, what's really changed in the Conservative Party? And that's very true. Nothing has changed in the Conservative Party because that's why no one was talking about policy at the leadership election because they all pretty much predominantly are decided they want to sort of take the party in this more right-wing direction. Yeah. Someone else said, "Oh, it's a new, fresh face of generation for the Conservatives in the shadow cabinet." Most of these are very, very well acquainted with the Cameron years and the Brexit rows, even though he says that they're not. Yeah, I don't think they will. Someone else says here, "What an awful appointment. No wonder she travelled so lightly on policy. It's nothing to do with that setting out principles. She just appointed Ted Heath, not Joseph, let alone a Lawson." Since Stride has obviously plotted to remove a couple of party leaders, of course being Boris and Truss, we can expect the next coup against Kemi to feature Stride within a couple of years. Yes, as Mel Stride was also a supporter of May as well as Sunak. Both had a devastating effect on their fortunes of the Conservative councillors in 2019 and 2023. Wow. Yeah, that is also something worth pointing out as well. Mel Stride always has been involved in some way against coups against future party leaders. Gee, um, I wonder if this is all just part of his own wider plan to do it to attempt to become Conservative Party leader. Um, yeah, someone else, Laura Trott. I remember that car crash interview with Evan Davis last February. She's going to be the Shadow Cabinet Education Secretary. What can she add and actually subtract properly? um, Yep. Someone else said here, very obviously, with how even and relatively a small number of MPs, the Conservative talent pool is now infinitely greater than poor old Starmer's. Someone else said, you must be joking. These are all the dregs of yesteryear. Very, very true. They all are the dregs of yesteryear. Nothing has changed in the Conservative Party at all with these appointments. Someone else replies, they are exactly 120 government jobs, and Miss Badenoch had exactly 120 MPs from which to choose. Given that three of them have all signalled their intention to return to the backbenchers, that gives Badenoch now a total of 117 MPs to fill 120 roles. I am sure she'll be choosing the only most talented. Um, oh, goody. Does that mean Suella will at least get one or two or maybe even three shadow minister roles? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Priti Patel pop up somewhere in all these in the future. Neil Hudson appears to be very hard at work, very hard worker without a successful track record. The About Me section of his website is a very comprehensive CV, which will impress any at least corporate recruiter. I would probably copy the format and language if I was looking for a job, but it says nothing about his political views. Is this normal? um, Yeah, Huddleston is a board member of the Tory Reform Group. Oh dear, we're really in trouble. Uh, if he means by uniting a disjointed party, then this MP, this has now MPs squabbling like rats in a sack. So yeah, some of these, yeah, you can already tell these appointments to the shadow cabinet. Conservative Party members are not happy. They are not happy at all with these appointments as to who's being put in here. Badenoch has assembled a terrible cabinet that is doomed at some point in the future to start infighting because they all have radical different views. They all have different ideas about what they want to do. And central to all this is a leader. Now, if you are a leader, you have to bridge the gap and try and find compromises. But the problem is here, as we have always seen, neither side is interested in compromising because you've got the one nation sort of sensible Tories who are like, well, if you do this, this is going to have like really bad ramifications. So we don't even want to compromise because if we did, how are you going to solve like these bad ramifications? The whole, again, the Rwanda plan, leaving the European Court of Human Rights, Brexit, you name it. They have been very sensible. Even when it came down to sort of regulations, they're like, well, actually, we can't get rid of all these regulations because if something bad happened because we got rid of these regulations, how's that going to then reflect on us? Meanwhile, of course, you've got the right wing of the party, which is just like, all right, let's go gung ho, grab your packs, boys, because we're going to go on a wild adventure. And who knows where we're going to end up, but it's going to be the land of sunshine and rainbows all from here, guys. Yeah, and these are the people who end up, leading you into a Martian swampland to camp for the night. you know, um, this is a cabinet built for permanent infighting. And here's the thing, because she has so few MPs, all she can really do is demote people and change out for someone new, hoping that they'll be competent. But of course, that's not going to happen. That's only going to build and foment future rebellions. Badenoch, as I've kept on saying throughout all of this, has shown no real leadership qualities. She's a big personality who, as we've seen, you may remember that dossier that dropped about her at the start of the leadership campaign. She likes to shout and get her way. How are all these other shadow cabinet members going to do that? You've got to remember, Priti Patel has bullying accusations against her as well. Gee, I'm sure they're not going to end up butting heads at some point in the future either. Again, Robert Jerrick, Mel Stride, all these different people want different things from different wings of the party. How is Priti Patel going to achieve unity? Because at some point, she has to start committing to policy. And when she does, that's where, once again, the arguments will start. This is not a good cabinet. Quite frankly, she could have gone to IKEA and assembled a far better one. That's it. Who could she have assembled? Well, I generally don't know. There's just such poor quality now. This isn't just barrel scraping. The barrel was scraped long ago by Boris Johnson. There is no barrel left. All you have is even worse than that. The barrel is empty. And it just goes to show you the dearth of talent that is now here, where we start to see what policies they're going to have to start rolling out. Because, oh boy, yeah, things are going to get interesting, I think, quite quickly. Because this is a cabinet is not going to agree. And it makes me wonder how quickly we are going to see, leaks of what's going on in these shadow cabinets and start briefing against each other. Gee, looks like we're into some fun times, definitely, with the Tory party. And of course, Kemi Badenoch will be doing her first PMQs on Wednesday. How's that going to go? Interesting times ahead for them. Probably already imminently on the rocks with these picks, with these choices. But yeah. Good luck to Lib Dems. It's not reform, as some people were saying that are cheering about that. It's the Lib Dems who are now like, yep. They're just waiting now for Kemi Badenoch to see which way she's going to go in some of these things. If she goes more to the right, that's going to cause a lot more of the centrist One Nation Tories to go, okay, well, we're permanently going to become Lib Dems now, and even more of them are going to come towards the Lib Dems. You are going to see a lot of by-elections in the near, not too distant future, because we know that Labour are going to be tackling second jobs probably early next year about closing this, about, you can't have these, certain types of second jobs. That's going to leave a lot of those Conservative MPs to leave. That is going to reduce her own majority. She's going to lose these by-elections, most probably to the Lib Dems. And yeah, she's not going to last long at all. I'd give her 2 years at most. At most, I would give her 2 years, but she ain't taking the party into the next general election. And by that point, she has to commit to policy. And that will lead to massive infighting within the Tory party about, what policy is pursuing. So it's going to be an interesting tenure, Badenoch has. I'll tell you that now. But expect a lot of infighting. Expect a lot of infighting. Now, of course, they're waiting for the dust still to settle from the contest. And of course, you're going to have, like I say, today and tomorrow is going to be dominated by the US election, the voting, and of course, the fallout from it. But after that, yeah, things could get quite interesting indeed. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think down below. But as always, we'll see you all next time.